Hey, what is up guys, this is Cobb and welcome to some of the worst free champions in Raid Shadow Legends that they might be freebies but they just aren't worth your time. They're certainly not going to be worth your skill books and your skill tomes and your resources to build out. And here's what champions you should be building instead. Alright guys, real quick before we get into this one, promo code time. I've got the early scoop on this one, man. Good old code Xmas24, man. Holiday season code. This is going to be active until about the middle of January. So make sure to go ahead and get it used for a happy little batch of free supplies, because why the hell not, man? It's an energy refill, 100,000 silver, 10 free experience brews, man. Same as good old promo code GameLeap. Who would have thunk it, man? So after you're done using promo code Xmas, go ahead and make sure to use promo code GameLeap as well while you're at it, man. Okay, back to the video. We're going to go ahead and start with one of the most obvious ones, which is going to be the 60-day login reward champion. Very, very easy to get your hands on Yaga the Insatiable, and probably the biggest like noob bait champion in all of Raid. This guy is a chicken. This guy is food in disguise because he's so replaceable, right? He's kind of sold to you as a poison damage dealer that you can then build out and bring into Demon Lord Clan Boss or into Dragon Dungeon, and it's gonna be great. Well, if you start off your account with the best starter champion, which is Kale, then you don't need another poisoner, or even if you do need another poisoner, there are way better budget options that you can get your hands on that are not Yaga the Insatiable. And even if you didn't start out with Kale, 60 days in, you've probably collected like 2 or 3 better poisoners already than Yaga, right? So Yaga's kit attacks one enemy, chance of placing a poison debuff, so one single poison debuff on his A1. His A2 is just a smack, it's a double header. Each hit with a 75% chance booked, which you shouldn't book him because it's a bloody 4-turn cooldown skill. What are we even talking about here, right? Each hit has a chance of placing poison debuff for 2 turns, so he's got a double poisoner, hypothetically, on his A2, and then he just hits something with his stick on his A3, right? Now you compare Yaga to the much more accessible, well, I just consult my notes over here, man. I think he's in the Sacred Order, and his name is good old Outlaw Monk. This is just an uncommon champion that you can pull from Mystery Shards, okay? Place 2 poison debuffs on the target for 2 turns, except you can just use copies of Outlaw Monk to level up his skills to get this down to a 3-turn cooldown, and suddenly you've got a champ that you can take up to level 50. Just level 50, don't be maxing out your Outlaw Monk, there's just no need, right? Even just level 40 can be fine until you find something better. You've got a champion that's applying basically as many poisons per turn on average, like over the course of a longer fight, as Yaga, except he's uncommon. He doesn't use any of your skill books. He's very easy to like throw ascendancy potions into, and he's going to do just as good of a job, right? We've already touched on Kale. If you got Kale, he can easily be one of your better poison damage dealers as well, but another great champion as well that you can build out if you get lucky and pull Frozen Banshee from an Ancient Shard, or even from a Mystery Shard if you get very lucky. She's just amazing. She makes Yaga look ridiculously terrible, right? It's actually her A1, so a spammable method of a double hitter, with each hit having a higher chance than Yaga's A2 of placing strong poison debuff if the target is under poison sensitivity, which she also brings on her A3, which just increases the poison damage that the target takes as well. And again, because she's a rare champion, it's no problem to buck out your Frozen Banshee because it's just rare skill tomes. Just not a big deal, you know? She's so much cheaper to build out than the Yaga. But even if you don't pull yourself a Frozen Banshee, Outlaw Monk, Kale, they're going to do just fine for you in terms of poisonous men. Don't be building out Yaga, dudes. In fact, as I was just reminded by the chat, you can start off your account with an even better poisoner than anybody we just covered right now. It isn't Ugo, no, but it is Fane that you can get completely for free. We use if you sign up to Raid using my beginner promo link, which is linked down below at the top of the video description box, man. Go ahead and sign up to Raid, man. Use that beginner link to create your new account, and you'll be getting yourself Fane at level 40, an incredible clan boss poison debuffer in general, not just a poisoner, actually, which brings all kinds of debuffs to help you out against Demon Lord Clan Boss, and you 3 other epics to boot on top of that as well, man. All very solid, well, apart from Romero, but you know what? He's there as well, man. He's doing his best, okay? Yeah, so make sure you sign up to Raid using my beginner link. So the next champion we're going to be covering is going to be another login reward champion, and would you know it, it's actually the next login reward champion that I am due to get on my free-to-play account. It is Dak, Aethel. Now, Dark Aethel, man, this is a champ that's sold as a Spider's Den specialist, brings all kinds of like AoE damage and stuff, right? She's got like the A3 and the A2, I think, are both AoE skills. Problems with these is that they don't hit that hard. On the surface, they're not that bad. Attacks all enemies, plus an increased speed buff on this champion for 3 turns. If this attack kills 4 or more enemies, she gets some self-healing if it kills more enemies, and she gets an extra turn if it kills 10 or more enemies, which is quite important to note, because if you're going to fully buck her up, this is still a 4-turn cooldown skill. You really need to be getting the extra 10 on this for this skill to be good, and so that's why she's kind of sold as a spider specialist, right? Her A2 is also an attack all enemies with a chance of placing decreased speed. Not too bad, man. Not too bad. For the decreased speed, actually not bad. This is a very, very important debuff as well to bring into Spider's Den. I feel like the problem is that she's okay into wave content. Actually, she's pretty good into wave content. She's pretty good-ish into Spider, but she's not going to be part of your Spider team forever. She's not going to be with you until you get to like Spider stage 20 or something. Eventually her damage numbers are just not going to add up, and unless you're equipping her in just absolutely ridiculously insane, you know, end and late game gear, she's just going to start to struggle to kill off the waves of the Spiderlings eventually, and then once she's not able to do that, she's basically useless at that point, you know? Much easier strategy in Spider's Den, by the way, is just to control the Spiderlings if you can. Like AoE stuns, AoE freezes, that kind of thing. And just keep them under control while you then control the boss's turn meter and stuff like that. So she doesn't even really factor into some of like the good sort of mid-game or like beginner style Spider's Den teams that are going to get you to Spider 20 for the first time. A much better Nuka, by the way, because you might think, oh, well, maybe you could build her out for faction wars and for wave content for the Undead Hordes, right? Surely that's okay. And by the way, this is a contentious pick. Not everyone's going to agree with this one, but I'm going to go ahead and throw her in there. Anyway, I'm going to stand by it, because why not just wait 30 days and build the better Nuka for the Undead Hordes faction in the form of Dark Elhain, who actually has like a good amount of utility built into her kit as well, and she's not just a one-trick pony, right? Not only are her damage modifier is just better, she brings a self buff of increased attack as well. She also brings the decreased speed on an AoE too, so that's lovely before she attacks into all enemies. She brings the pain, she brings the damage, which is lovely, but she also counters all kinds of freeze effects, right? She gets 10 meter fill and activates her big powerful AoE A2 whenever this champion or an ally receives a freeze debuff. Great into Ice Golem for speeding up your Ice Golem clear. Great into Spider. Great into Arena as well against Tormund the Cold. That's something that's not going to be that relevant to you when you're first starting out in Raid. You're not going to see that many Tormunds in like silver bracket, you know, in Arena. But as you ascend up in the Arena ranks in Classic Arena and stuff like that, you're going to start to run into Tormund teams, and it's just lovely to have a Dark Elhain to just kind of switch in and just sort of tag in those arena fights to take care of Tormund and his extremely obnoxious freezes, and just throw a spanner in the works by just getting off unexpected A2s, you know. Also, her second passive, when ascended, instantly remove any freeze debuffs on this champion and replace them with increased crit rate, increased crit damage buffs, and a strengthen buff whenever an enemy places a freeze debuff on this champ, right? So she's got all kinds of anti-freeze effects and just has utility into multiple areas of the game, as well as being pretty good into faction wars too, as just a general Nuka, which for me, she's just a lot more versatile, the Dark Aethel, and yeah. I built her on the main account. I don't regret it at all. Next up, and just moving on down the list, okay, we're gonna go straight on to Lordly Legionary. Now, Lordly Legionary is kind of like the same as Dark Aethel, except this guy's sold as a Fire Knight specialist, right? That's the difference. So a quick breakdown of his kit. Of course, Fire Knight, you need to break through the boss's shield stacks and then control the boss's 10 meter and have like decreased speed on the boss and stuff like that, right? So what's he bringing? Well, he's bringing a double hitter on his A1, which is lovely. Also, a heal reduction debuff can be useful too. The A2 is an attack one enemy, chance of placing decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Decreased attack is 10 meter by 20% if the decreased speed debuff is placed. Obviously, main problem with this skill is that it's going to take a hell of a lot of reading to get it down to a 3-turn cooldown, and you really need this to be 100% land rate. So it's going to be a big skill book investment for a champion that you're going to use in one area of the game ever. By the way, I just want to kind of stress that this guy is built for Fire Knight and only Fire Knight, and only normal mode Fire Knight at that as well. On his A3, he brings a reflect damage buff and a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. The reflect damage is fine into the Fire Knight boss. It means that if it refreshes its shield stacks, then attacks into you, then it's going to deal some reflect damage back to itself and instantly lose some shield stacks, right? For every instance of damage that's reflected. That's fine. The heat is also okay. But ideally, you're never going to need this reflect damage buff anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of want to get to the Fire Knight boss, break its shield stacks instantly, and then never let the boss get a turn ever again. That's like the ideal scenario against Fire Knight. And you might think to yourself, well, how achievable is that? How much can you actually get that done reliably, especially in like the early game? It's a little bit easier than you think. Particularly easy if you pull into or want to use like a promo code or whatever to get like one of your beginner champions to be Allura. I think that the Allura promo code is still active for any like brand new players. It's like a first 24 hours of your account code, by the way. But yeah, she completely trivializes Fire Knight, right? Triple hitter A1, decrease the target's 10 meter by 25% on each critical hit. Just, oh my god, just give this champion like an increased speed buff. Break the Fire Knight shield one time, and you're good. Like, Allura will take you up to stage 25 as long as you can then deal with the waves before the boss, you know? She's just one of those champs that is just that good at doing that job. Another champ that you can build out that's a lot more accessible, because we want to focus on like very, very accessible champs here, is going to be Apothecary. If you pull yourself an Apothecary in the early stages of your account, triple hit A1, great for getting down the boss's shield stacks, then brings an increased speed and some 10 meter fill on his A3 just to get your team moving way faster than the boss and hopefully stay ahead of the boss and very, very easily get to control the boss's 10 meter. You can then go ahead and combo the likes of the Apothecary with something like just a very, very accessible. Where the hell is he, man? Is he in the Sacred Order Armiger? There he is, man. Good old Armiger over here, man, with his A1. Build him up to level 50, give him 100% crit, and then on his A1, he gets a decreased 10 meter by 30% if this attack is critical. And so you just combine a lot of these multi-hitter champions, throw like an Apothecary and an Armiger in the team, and that's like half of the boss taken care of already, you know? Like maybe one other 10 meter controller on top of the Armiger, and you're kind of good to rock and roll. Obviously, another very, very good option if you do get to pull yourself into a Cold Heart. She's just going to completely trivialize Fire Knight's dungeon. Quadruple hitter on the A1 for plinking down the shield, and the A3 is obviously ridiculous as well. I'm actually going to be knocking up a good old Fire Knight guide in specific very, very soon after this one, so make sure you just stay tuned for that one if you're struggling a little bit with Fire Knight. Don't resort to the noob trap that is building out your Lordly Legionary is the main point. So another sort of freebie that you can get in Raid is a 7-day login reward champion for newer players. That's kind of like a limited time thing. You only get your hands on Shaman if there's not a alternative login reward champion active. Right now in Raid, Skeletor is like the 7-day login reward champion for newer players and existing players as well, to be fair, but Shaman usually takes that spot, right? This champ, I mean, is she the worst reviver in the game? I don't want to say she's the worst reviver in the game, but what I will say is that, yes, she brings a single target revive on her A3. The rest of her kit is just absolutely offensively useless and offensively terrible. Single target hitter A2 to place a weak increased crit rate buff on all allies for 2 turns. Like, what are we even talking about here, man? Like, you don't want Shaman in your teams just for this increased crit rate buff, and so you're going to build your nukers with 100% crit rate anyway, so it's kind of just like a bit of a useless buff. The revive, 5-10 cooldown booked. Do you want to be spending skill books into Shaman? Not really. Not even for faction wars, because, frankly, there are 2 fantastic revivers in the Orcs faction, both of which are just normal quality epics, and so it's not that unlikely that if you just play Raid for a good few months, you're probably going to pull either Old Helmet Yorg or good old Tagore, both of which are just fantastic, fantastic champs that bring all kinds of utility. Yorg brings HP burn on his A1, increased attack and 10 meter fill on his A2, and then a double revive with a perfect veil buff on the people who he revives on his A3. So just better than Shaman in every single conceivable way. And then Tagore, it's sort of like a similar deal. He brings a revive all dead allies and then shields allies as well after the fact. And then on his A2, and attack all enemies with an increased speed buff, strong version, and then heal all allies by 15% of this champion's max HP on a 310 cooldown on his A2. So he's just nuts as well. Just like insanely, insanely good as well. Also an increased defense buff on his A1 also. So the Orcs have some amazing amazing and pretty accessible epic revivers that it's not that unlikely that you're going to pull at least one of these after like a few Ancient Shard pulling events. Just don't build out the Shaman, dude. She's just never worth it. If she's ever the free login reward champion when you're starting out this game at some point in the future or whatever, yeah, just know that she is seriously not worth building out. Okay, back to the login reward champions, man. I'm going to scroll on down just a wee bit to a champion that I can't believe that some people defend. Tynix Hateflower, man. I don't even give a damn. I've had people rage in the comments before saying, oh my god, man, he's out of touch, man, he's out of touch. He's like one of those super late game raid YouTubers, man, who underestimates all of the free champions, you know, because he's spoiled for choice on his main account. Well, you know what? I'm on my free-to-play account right now, and I would sooner, I won't say it, I've got to keep it PC and family-friendly for YouTube, man. I'm just saying, there's a lot of things I'd rather do on my free-to-play account than build Tynix Hateflower, okay? That's all I'll just leave it at that. This champ is not good. I would not recommend building this champ out ever. Hey, A1, it's a double hitter, heals all allies by 3% of this champion's HP with each hit on targets under decreased speed debuffs, so it's conditional. Like, what are we talking about? This is not a lot of healing. Even if you build out your Tynix with like, I don't know, like 60k health or something, or like 70k health or whatever, like how much healing is this, really? How much healing is that? It's like a few thousand or something on each champion across your team, if the enemy's under a decreased speed, which she does bring, to be fair, on a A2, an attack 1 enemy A2 has a 50% chance of placing decrease. Look at how many books! Look at how many books it takes, dude! What are we talking about here? But this is crazy. So to book it up and get it up to 100% land rate, you need what, 7 skill books? 7 epic skill tomes into this piece of garbage, and then you have a chance of placing decreased speed debuff on the target for 2 turns. Has a 100% chance instead of placing decreased speed on all enemies if this attack is critical. So you gotta build it with 100% crit, but at the same time you gotta build it with as much health as possible to get more healing from my A1. But then on her passive, she also soaks 5% of the damage that the rest of your team takes. It's only 5%, like that's nothing. It's going to reduce the damage they take. Like if someone on your team takes a 30k hit to the face or something, she's gonna absorb what, 1500 of that damage? Ooh, that's gonna make a huge difference for keeping your team alive, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so she soaks a bit of that, but she's soaking some damage, so maybe you want to build up with a bit of defense as well, and then you've got to build it with accuracy to land the decreased speed. Like, bro, what are we talking about here? How stat hungry is this champion, man? What kind of good gear are you going to be committing to this champion just to make her functional to use her where? Faction Wars? No, okay, no way, dude. Like, Tynix Hateflower is not good. Yeah, as for alternatives that you could build to Tynix, look, if you want some wave control and some survivability to be added to your Demon Spawn team, a couple of epic champs that you could build, one they're actually right next to each other, in the faction again. Nazana, put her in a stun set. She has multiple attack all enemy skills, one of them being a decreased attack skill, you know. She's doing the same job but in a different way, and she's doing it way better, and she's useful, you know, into basically all wave content the game over. Nazana's gonna be great. She's gonna be great, man. Build her out for Faction Wars at level 50 if you want to in a stun set, and she'll do fine. Same thing with Infernal Baroness. She's got multiple attack all enemies skills as well. Also brings an AoE decrease attack. Put her in a stun set. She's going to do a much better job for your Faction Wars, even at level 50, than Tynix Hateflower would ever do. Woo! Man, I'm glad I got that off my chest. Oh, you could also build Atchak as well. He's like a great wave controller too, like wave freezer style champion that you could also use. I mean, you got options, okay? I mean, god, Umbral Enchantress, big AoE provoker, you know? You got way better options, man, than Tynix Trash Flower, man. Ooh, that was like a schoolyard insult right there, man. Hey, Tynix Trash Flower. Oh, wrecked, dude. Sound the goddamn horns. Okay, my next champion on the list is gonna be a Doom Tower Secret Room champion. Okay, it's ZXG. This champion, oh my god, man. Is this the worst champion that you get from Doom Tower Secret Rooms? I think it might be. And I think it might not even be close. I think even if this was the first champion that you ever got from Doom Tower Secret Room, so you got it like very early on your account, maybe like 2 or 3 months in. Well, that's actually impossibly early, I think. But if you get a super early in your account as your starting champion, you wouldn't build this champion. That's how terrible this sucker is. Attacks one enemy, chance of placing an extra hit on the A1. Just doesn't do anything. A2, attacks one enemy, will ignore shield block damage buffs. Place a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn. If this attack kills an enemy, bookable down to a 4-turn cooldown. Okay, so it ignores shield block damage. You think, okay, are the modifiers good? Does it smack? No, it doesn't, okay. It really, really doesn't. Okay, the A3. Place an increased crit damage buff and increased attack buff in this champion for 3 turns, then grant an extra 10. Doesn't make enough of a difference. In fact, it feels like the damage modifiers for A1 and A2 have been deliberately lowered by Plarium to sort of account for the fact that she's getting an increased attack and increased crit damage buff on her A3. She just doesn't do anything, man. Like, what do you use this champion for? You know, Arena? She just doesn't have the damage modifiers to support her in Arena. It's like a single target killer. If this also had block revive in this A2 and the damage was good, maybe. Like maybe now we're talking, kind of. People still probably wouldn't build her out because by the time you get her, you probably got like Fennex and like other better block revive champions and stuff like that if that's what you're looking for. But ZXG, what a piece of crap. What do you build instead of ZXG? Anything. Up to and including Yaga. I said it. Okay, I went there, man. Just don't build this goddamn champion. She's an absolute piece of trash, man. The last champion that we're going to be covering is going to be none other than the current login reward champion, good old Skeletor. I don't believe in this guy, man. I don't believe in this guy. I got a little bit of a bad rap on the channel recently, and I sort of played into it a little bit, you know, just to get people triggered, because I can't help myself, you know, love winding people up. But yeah, I talked a lot of smack about Loki, you know. As the limited time login reward champion, I talked a lot of smack about Loki, man. Oh, don't build Loki. If you are going to build him with level 50. Don't give him any skill books, just leave him there. I think I still stand by that for the most part, kind of. He's grown on me a little bit, to be honest, over the weeks, but I just like trolling people in the videos more than anything. Loki looks pretty goddamn good right now, compared to Skeletor. Let me just put it that way, right? Skeletor is... I wanted to like him so much when I was first reacting to his kit, here on the YouTube channel, because it's Skeletor, for God's sake, man. Look at them skeletal abs. Like, what are we talking about here, man? He looks absolutely badass. His hair looks insane. The nostalgia's there, you know. It's great. It's got a double hitter A1, but what does it do? Increase the duration of a random debuff on the target by 110. It's fine if this lands on a poison into clan boss, for example. Okay, maybe can help out a little bit over there. It does also bring a decreased attack and decreased speed if he uses A2 against bosses. It's just a single target hitter. It is on a 5-10 cooldown. Kinda garbage. You might get this off once in most boss fights and things like dungeons and stuff. If you're living long enough in dungeon boss fights to get this off like 2 or 3 times, your kill speed is just probably very, very, very low. And that's something that you got to work on, you know? I don't know, dude. I don't know how I feel about Skelly, man. I just don't feel like he's that great. Petrification debuff, 110. I've got to be honest, I haven't even tested him yet because his kit looks so lackluster to me. You know what I'm saying? So maybe I gotta give him more of a fair shout. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think, and people who have built him up to maybe a level 50 or even a level 60 so far on their new accounts and stuff like that. And how is he doing for you in the early game? Any like mid-game players even touching this guy? I get a sense probably not, unless like it's content creators making him for a video or something, you know. What else does he bring? On the A3, increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns. I feel like you're better off in the early game in Raid, just waiting for like the very first Dragon tournament that comes along in the first month of your account. Even if you can only farm like stage 8 or 9 or 10 of Dragon, just blasting that tournament and getting a good supply of accuracy gear on your like newbie account to help you hit accuracy checks without the need for buffs like this. But even if you are using this accuracy buff, again, it's another 5-10 cooldown skill, multiple skill books required, legendary tomes, which you should absolutely not put into Skeletor as a beginner player. Even if you don't have a legendary right now, wait until you pull your first legendary. It might take months. Save every skill book anyway, you know, because chances are, like most legendaries in this game, especially the very first legendary you get on your account, not including Skeletor, are going to be kind of account changing and like a huge boost to your account. And 9 times out of 10, the books are going to be better off going into them than Skelly. It does also bring some 10 meter decrease as well for enemies on this A3, which is fine. Has a chance to steal any block debuffs buffs and 1 other random buff from each enemy. That's actually pretty good. It's fine in things like Arena, right? So he's got the Petrification single target in Arena. He's got the 10 meter decrease, the buff steal, you know. Also not bad in Arena as well. For me, level 50, use him in Classic Arena. That's where I would leave Skeletor alone, personally. What to build instead of Skeletor is simply whatever legendary champion you pull that isn't Skeletor as the first champ on your account, man. And alright, man, that's all I got, man, for my picks for some of the worst freebie champions that you can get in Raid, at least at the earlier stages of Raid. I don't want to include too many like uber late game champions that you can get from like hard mode Doom Tower secret rooms and stuff, because frankly I want to keep this more focused on, you know, helping new players avoid some of the traps that you can get gifted to you by Plarium, you know, ironically in the earlier stages of your raid adventures, man. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Do you disagree with my picks? Do you think that Taenix Hateflower is absolutely S tier? Let me know down below, man. There's always a couple people that think that Taenix is absolutely S tier and get all butthurt, man. So I'm sorry in advance, but I had to go in, okay? I gotta speak from the heart over here, right? Anyways, hey, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy this one. If you're going to join me on my free-to-play raid adventure and start off a second account of your own, there is no better way to do it than by signing up using my beginner promo link, which of course is down below at the top of the video description box, man. So go ahead, create a new account. Maybe you need a clean start because you went ahead and got Taenix Hateflower and maxed her up to level 60 and threw all of your skill books into it, and now you just regret everything and you need to wash yourself free of those sins and create a new account, man. Well, my beginner link is how you can do it, Ben. Alright, thanks so much, you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Now I'm going to catch all of y'all just a tad bit later, man.